that time and time again has set them up in such a great spot. Also, one of the few trios we actually saw go for a high ground retake very late in the game. I think 9th zone were able to pull it off and then win the game. Because of it. So insane plays there as we do move over to Holly Hedges. We saw this site play out a lot yesterday. Mangos and Cup. Did not have the best start to yesterday, but came back.
Box in pretty.
Yeah, oh, nice.
Ended up in
Wait,
play.
where?
In the box, dead.
Nice.
Holding epic, very epic, legendary variants of every weapon. Everything looking good. And the fact that they have a legendary lever there really shows, I think they're all going to have that based on the NPC that spawns there. And that's so huge for them.
In the server, still going to be up on their feet. So a lot going on. So we're going to swing around here. You can see Jagvir, Mojo, and Solution have picked up a nice little supply drop there. They're adding to the repertoire of utility, and I mean, you can see them splitting bouncers, making sure everyone's spread out, and I mean, they're even going to potentially leave some utility behind. They're loaded on loot.
Place team.
Yeah, but to be honest, their placement thresholds haven't been bad. They've gotten a 3rd place, a 2nd place, and a 4th place in there. The only one that's really been a massive dud was that 30th place 0 elim match. They had a match number 4. So while that being a bit tough, I feel like we haven't necessarily seen them as much as they've really been putting up numbers, because they've had some solid games in there. Their 2nd place was a 10 elim match. Their 3rd place was an 11 elim match, which means showing that not only are they able to kind of get into these late game situations, but they're capable of finding eliminations, which to me indicates that, and from what we have seen of them, they've been fighting right around kind of that 2nd height or middle tarp layer and being the aggressors in that situation, and not necessarily afraid to trade out one individual if they're able to full wipe a trio.
And you saw the sniper elim come through there for Mojo. Again, we talk NA West. Has so many sniper eliminations that come through. It's such a powerful weapon as we do get to move over to, once again, another powerhouse trio of Wavy Jacob, Jay, and Favs. That's going to be Alex G on soccer. That's his name. Changing it up, spicing it up a little bit here for the last day of finals. But notice, once again, we have yet to see the Dragon's Best shotgun in Wavy Jacob's inventory, and that's his power weapon. He does so well with that, and I'm surprised that they're not trying to pick it up.
I think it's interesting because I'm a fan of it when you're able to execute well, but it also kind of pigeonholes you into a very specific strategy where either A, you have to own a ton of space on the low ground and then force people to drop into you. i.e. what we saw kind of over on NA East with Sentin and his team, the low ground execution and what makes that so beneficial, or you have to play box to box to be kind of trying to like phase or force in and hinge on that one shot, which is what we see a little bit more when they tend to run it. But if you're fighting in those strategies and you end up not in either of those situations, you're kind of stuck without an effective shotgun, because without being directly in front of people or being able to close that gap or have it be a fight that you dictate, you don't really have an option to get out a ton of damage, which leaves you to rifle spray and can potentially leave you super vulnerable.
And that may be something they've adapted coming out of semifinals and making it here to the finals. They decided, you know what, we're not going to go for that. We're going to go for that tactical, that lever shotgun, the charge shotgun play. Just have that ability to swap back to it if I need to. A team that's kind of been making their way up the leaderboards, I'd say, towards the last couple of games, the Slim & Company, they had a good start to the game and then kind of finished off a little bit wavering, but they were dominating in terms of eliminations, doing so well, considering all things, because they like to push. They were contested in some areas. And now, already with a couple elims under their belt, looking very, very good and early on their rotation as well, because we know the zone is pulled down here.
Yeah, it seems like they've just been beating up on one or two teams in particular off of this rotation, which is something I'm not necessarily too surprised of, because Little is really, really, really good when he knows he has an advantage in certain situations and he knows how to press it. But we've also seen Temple picking up a ton of their early eliminations. So the combination of the two has been impressive. We see that almost pre-built out Portafort in stone of old there. It's kind of almost been now a signature of Kytrex, Chicken, and Avail to build up there in order to get the sight lines they need for those Storm Surge tags, and you're going to see that start to come in there. Every game on day one, just showing that level of consistency and kind of that top half of play and making it into the mid and moving zone. I mean, Avail's holding the sniper rifle right now, so despite the statistics saying that Chicken is slightly stronger with that weapon in his inventory, they're going to opt to give it over to Avail. So we're going to swing over and see teams trying to occupy as much space as possible here, as that Storm Surge is going to threaten. On the right-hand side, you can see currently that Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex are 179 damage above. It was something that caused them a little bit of trouble yesterday in the opening match there. It was the reason largely that they went down, but you also see them getting some key upgrades here off of their gold.
Yeah, what a great find there. Finding Condor in the middle, boxing him up, and now we'll be able to refarm all that brick they just used. And great for them to be above Surge. Now they can operate the way they want to, like we saw yesterday in the games that they were able to find the tags. And if they're able to operate that way on this entire lobby, it's GG well played. They are so good at playing their game and pushing their lead on other teams. As we start to see Storm Surge go down, we're not going to have to worry about it too much here for this trio. But the question is, where are these other players looking for tags? And Oracle and company are 142 below. Is Zammy going to go down trying to make a pickaxe play? Zaz is currently getting hit by there, is going to get some damage off, is above, is going to get the knock, but the pre-edit and the no reload there on the shotgun is going to be why he goes down. As Dingy and company take him down.
He had some really good shots there, though. It was pretty impressive under that amount of pressure to be able to at least pick up the knock. Some good accuracy displayed, but unfortunately not enough to pull him out of that situation. You would expect them generally to go down, as Storm Surge would have taken a solid chunk away and kind of forced their hand. We're going to swing back on board here over to Misty Meadows and see if we can occupy the amount of space. Who's able to get the tags? Don't necessarily see some Storm Surge pressure going on. Still, 3 teams will be under that. You can keep an eye on the top left corner. It will turn off once that number gets down to 70, so you can see it rapidly ticking down. Now only one trio underneath the pressure, so Reet, making it 40R Storm should know they're good. We hit 70, Storm Surge will turn off. Now, if this is your first time watching competitive Fortnite or first time watching in a while, and need a reminder, Storm Surge does damage to the trios that have done the least amount of damage to other players in the lobby. It triggers 3 times in the game: when the 3rd zone closes, when the 5th zone closes, and when the 7th zone closes. Now, the reason you don't typically see it, and it's on in every single lobby, is it only turns on when there's a certain number of players who are left in the server. The first one is 70, the second one at the 5th zone will be 50, so that'll be the next one we keep an eye on, and then the late game one in the 7th and moving zone is 30, but we'll make sure to call all of that out to you as we kind of get a look at the remaining position on the trios, and this is a pretty big split from Gabe and his trio.
Yeah, definitely wanting to try to control this angle on the players coming from the north. It's going to hit the sniper tag underwater. A big amount of surge damage will go over to them. Was trying to hit that headshot snipe. Wouldn't really be able to capitalize. Down Frapp in the feed.
Yeah, we'll need to keep an eye on to see if that ends up getting converted, and the Bok will go over 2 points to Chicken and his team. He'll be happy about that. Could say he's cawing even, as we keep an eye on everyone just kind of trying to trade AR shots out, kind of poke at the players who are around them, make sure they own the space, as we're seeing a pretty far south pull for most of the map, so anticipate a decent amount of the trios to be towards the northern side, with most of the south being empty.
And as you see, the map does get ended up getting pulled up there, so we can take a look. As you see the southeast side as well, nobody there, and if it pulls there, it's not going to. Would have been a very hard rotation. It is going to center up more towards the northeast, and all of those trios over there are going to have such a great sight line on Mark, Misty's, and Gabe and company all around them.
Veil's
rotating
down.
in.
Kytrex is down. Kytrex and a Veil both end up getting knocked there. Is symmetrical picking them up. It looked like they had a decent position. They were picking up downs on the other side, but instead it looks like our 3rd place team going to stumble here in match number 7, as Kytrex has at least been full confirmed. So that's going to be a bit tough, as they're going to fall well outside of placement.
That is really unfortunate to watch, and we'll have 5 more games to come back into it. They're not out by any means. We saw many different trios make a run at the last little bit yesterday in NA West, just to try to put themselves up in a really good spot. Even over in NA East, as we saw it finalized, the last game was insane, and now we get to see a beautiful overview. Everyone in the lobby, Triggy and company, are going to have a very hard rotate down there, as there's so many trios looking at them. Trashy, Epic Warwick, and EXE up on the high ground currently, though. They look to sit up well, but look who is in the middle of Misty Meadows.
Out. Nobody else wants to fight Reet in the early game, but it gives them an advantage like this. You can even see gas cans being utilized from one of their other teammates, just trying to chain their explosives together. But that Storm Surge warning, we talked about it, Zone 5 coming up here in 35 seconds, so they're trying to get that threshold on the right side of your screen from being below back to above, because 15 players are going to be impacted by it. 5 trios, and you can see them trying to sneak in some shots potentially at this team underneath. And this is going to be tough, because if you're in the basement and he has that rocket launcher, if they get this wall, this trio is going to eat an entire rocket.
And there's another trio pushing from the other side as well. Juicy will pick up an elimination. Gas can was used to try to make some space down below, but they're still below the threshold. They need to get in 25 below. It's going to turn on any moment now. 14 players are going to be low as well. 15 now, 50 below. It is turning on. Rex going to go down in the feed because of this pressure. Is RPG going to come through? It's not going to be a surprise. The edit was there. Reet and company going to take a lot of damage from behind. Making going to go down really low. 40R going to go down even lower. Rita's taking no damage with dealt none as well. He starts to take it from the storm and from behind as well. And they have just been wiped.
Storm Surge again taking down a top trio in NA West, and it's something we saw all through qualifiers, all through the semifinals. Storm Surge was so prominent in NA West. Teams unable to get the tags, just the amount of passivity that was coming through, but actually hopping over. None of this trio was full limited. Epic Whale, Arkham, and Rex still up on their feet, but nearly no utility. So Epic Whale trying to catch a duo, bouncing across, not going to find the shots or the confirmations. They're literally trying to split bandages between them to get back up to the correct effective HP and then use the chug splashes.
Yeah, I think deciding just to go for it, full send it, and get as healthy as they can, because going into this zone is going to be very hard and treacherous for them. They're going to have to rotate perfectly. And you're right, it is to the southeast there. Dylan and company are going to pull it, but they're down a man. They have 2 eliminations, but it was at the cost of Quinn.
And I'm okay with this specifically because of who Quinn is as a player. Don't get me wrong, it's great to have him up in that situation. He's very strong mechanically, but he is also one of the strongest mental players there. So you know for a fact he is acting as a coach for Dylan and Juicy, calling out their maps, giving them the key rotations, trying to help set up a game plan for them. It's part of what makes this trio so consistent and so good. But can this duo end up executing as we are now into the placement threshold? So their streak will continue. Our top 17 trios are left. 1 point has been given out for placement. As each trio now drops, an additional point will be granted to the trios who are still up until we get into the top 3. So we'll be keeping an eye kind of on that top 3 threshold, as that's the real big payout with the +6. A zone is going to continue to pull to the southeast. Nobody is over there because the changes in verticality are so drastic and so rapid that an early bouncer coming out right away from Dylan and Juicy is going to give them priority position. And as long as they don't get lobby focus, which should be fine, because everyone else has to make this horrible rotation. Look how far they all have to go, and you're going to have to go up and then back down to get to the safe area. This is going to be so incredibly tough.
Oh my god, bro, look at
skills
that.
of our players to the max, all while they're fighting against Storm Surge.
right?
For Rex is fighting against what Storm Surge, as he finds back-to-back rifle tags on a great angle to give them just a little bit of breathing room.
And this is where Rex is going to turn online, operate
Oh
so
my
well, so we can
god.
see high ground.
Rotation.
Cash and Nutby up there on the high ground. Wavy Jacob and company are making their way on through the front side of low ground. Falcon and his trio all up as well. But what is Jack here going to do? Down his entire trio. Only him remaining. Luckily is above Surge. Does have heals to try to make a play if it goes up the mountain, but it's gonna be very, very hard for him to do so. 17 builds remaining, trying to find anything. A straggler maybe behind. As Favs from Wavy Jacob gonna go down. Slim will fall as well. Zone gonna pull back in a moment of relief. Dylan and Juicy are gonna be able to get in. A knock does come through. They do convert on that. Are they gonna be able to grab the mats? And they do. Turtle Tavern gonna go down.
Turtle Tavern going down into our top 13, and a great bouncer from Dylan, and then puts the ramp above his head as well to make sure he's not floating down, forces his momentum. So the duo executing perfectly together into almost the top 10 as Epic Whale ends up getting knocked. We're keeping an eye on the top left of the screen as Rex will also trade it out. Falconer going down on that side. So 100 Thieves being cut down here as Juicy is still just trying to rotate and stay in front, knowing that it's all about placement. Stay on your feet as Rex and Epic Whale will both get full confirmed. It's only going to be onto Arkham here in the top as Juicy finds great headshots. That's a Rukel getting cut down on the backside of the zone. Can he find another one? The shield tag's coming through. Gonna swap over to lever action shotgun, just looking for tags and hoping that the Storm does the rest of the work, and it will. Finds a second onto 5 eliminations himself and into the top 7.
And Arkham just went down during all that madness, so they have the chance to keep running with the lead. It doesn't matter that Quinn's not in the game. He's in the comms. He can keep impacting this game from there. That's what he likes to do. You heard Sundown talk about it earlier, but what can they find? Can they get to that coveted top 3, even up into the top 2? Dylan trying to find anybody in the backside. Zone is pulling. It's going to close here in 10 seconds.
Big
Where will it
swap.
go? If it goes up the mountains, it's going to be very, very hard. Spidey and company are there. They're trying to rotate through. Dylan going back through zone. Going to find an angle getting back over to Juicy. Get in hand. He will have time to pop it off. He can fully heal up, but will it impact the game significantly? As we see Flopper's going to be pulled from Juicy. May be able to grab any of the mats with that harpoon. There's a trio down below, though. They have to be very careful about this. If they bite off a little bit more than they can chew, it will be them going down. As it's Spidey and company right below. Dylan is going to get a big shot there onto Trix, and that's going to be elimination
More
for
floppers.
him. His first one of the game. You are correct. More floppers, but Juicy's going to go down. He gets onto a full trio, and he goes down as well.
and they get picked off, and that's what happens. The duo bit off a little bit more than they could chew, took separate fights on the sides and getting the elimination, but unfortunately going down outside of that top 3 that we talked about. And Rek actually in the zone, using the chug splashes to just get enough HP to push himself into the top 3. He's telling himself, just placement, placement, placement. Can he find the zone? No, he will go down. 3rd place still gets that big boon, and we have a 3v2 with the 2 being up on the high ground. It's Pelican and Kaboo currently sitting on 7 eliminations. Pelican running back out into the zone, but he's going very, very, very early. There's still 25 seconds until full close. You're only going to be running back towards the zone. He's looking for somebody else, not quite going to find it. Instead, looking for an angle now as Pelican desperately trying to find somebody there, but not going to be able to get it. And the low ground team will close out the victory royale here. It's Spidey, Nate, and Blizzy with a fantastic 10 elimination victory royale to kick off the finals here.
Ooh, what a great game there for them. I think coming in below the top 10 into that game, and now definitely going to be shooting up into that top 10. And like we talked about in the pre-show, that is a big ramp up in prize money. But it's not even over for them. We've got 5 more games of awesome action. They could start to make their run for that top 3. Top 1's going to be really hard, but it's still realistic for them. But Dylan and Juicy absolutely dominating as a duo.
They dominate as a duo, but we're going to kick it on over the desk to see what else went down in that match. Zeke, Shio, Kelly, take it away.
Watch Sundown and Clay, great first game on the day, but don't forget, as Clay did say, we got 5 more games ahead of us. All right, I don't know. I tried to. We'll talk about it. Forget about it. Okay, so very kind of weird game there, kind of toward the end. I feel like there was just like a little bit of panic jumping out of the storm super early, but these things happen, right? First game jitters. It's okay. We can adjust. We can be better. Now, as we're kind of like getting ready to get to the next few games, Shai, I feel like I need a recap on the day yesterday.
Let's talk about what's brewing and what the story was like all the way up to this point of the day. We did say, you know, it's first game jitters. At the same time, these guys have played 6 games before. So checking it out, all the VRs from yesterday, let's talk about how we got here. Look at that Spidey, you know, that last one that we just saw.
Yeah, starting off, of course, with the first victory royale, Kytrex, Chicken, and Avail had height all the way from 6th zone and taking a pretty confident victory royale, but only with 4 eliminations. But that was a different story with the same team in game number 2.
Yep, and game number 2 was a head-to-head standoff. Kytrex versus Epic Whale, and then boom! He lands that last shot, had a quicker draw, and Dragon's Breath to make sure that fire was noticed too.
Back to Kenshi, Snacky, and Chris here, and it's another similar story of having height. But majority of their points were won from having the lower zone there. They did play safe, only walked away with 5 eliminations, but that VR is going to get them a lot of points.
Yeah, we saw a little bit more of Kenshi just consistently over the day. That VR really pushing towards the top. This game pushed me way past off my chair. A heel off to win it out. It was nuts.
Absolutely insane. Frapp playing so smart there, hiding away from the enemy team and getting that victory royale. But now it's the reigning champs, Arkram, Rex, and Epic Whale. The low ground kings dominated in this game as well, from zone 6 through 7th, and then had an eventual 3v3 against 40R Reet and Macon, and of course it went to the way of Arkram's team.
Yeah, but it looked like they were kind of, you know, still once again being up top in business, trying to take over the region. Juicy, Dylan, and Quinn, you just saw the spinning top of talent they displayed in game number 1, looking at all angles 24/7. You know, they won the last game. They started this game with some huge, you know, awesome eliminations as well, and a crazy end game. That's what you want from the people in the lead. And I guess they'll have to stay there too.
That's right, and now we gotta take a look, rather, at the standings. Now, what I like about the standings currently, your first place team is sitting nice, they're sitting healthy. It's Quinn, it's Juicy, it's Dylan, okay? But Arkram, Rex, and Epic Will, they're lurking in the shadows. They're only 20 points behind, and like where we're at in the competition, I feel like that's not that much of a separation, right, Shai?
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen 40-point differences before, and, you know, they've been made up. So 20, it's definitely doable by this trio especially.
Something that I want to focus on this page, though, this is, you know, the current standings. The top 5 teams from that game number 7 aren't up here. It was Spidey, Blizzy, and Nate that got the victory royale. Rek and Oracle in second place. Mangoes and Kambu in third place. Cool Penguin in fourth place. So to see them not even in the top 10, I mean, is this just a completely different tournament that we're seeing today?
I understand what it is, right? It's kind of like a catch-up. To squish something, right, like the leaderboard, it would take a hand on top and a hand down below. That hand down below was the one, you know, doing all the work here for this one. Might have not been the top 10 that's affected, but from 11th all the way down to 20th place, this is where the leaderboard really switched up. Now Spidey's in 14th. Krizux is changing up a little bit as well. Pelican, Kaboo, and Mangoes, these guys have a huge elevation all the way back towards the top. 68 points now from before, which I believe was like 20 or 30. So this is a huge big bump up.
Yeah, this is actually what you want to see. I mean, we saw how absolutely close it was from North American East, but it was kind of a top-heavy close. This right now, it's kind of the entire first 20 teams that are now starting to encroach on each other's like territory as far as points go. So it's really exciting to see if game number 2 kind of follows suit in game number 1, because clearly these top 5 teams did their homework last night and were able to take down major teams before even the end game happened.
Yeah, like game 1 was kind of like a hug, making us all closer in the leaderboard. You know, nice love and affection.
Aww.
I like it because now we have really good competition going into these next games.
I don't understand how you pull these like analogies off your dome, but there's God tier. So Fortnite fam, if you like God tier content, follow ShyWager and follow Kelly because they both provide God tier content. Now, you know what time it is. We want more action. We want more games. We got it. Because now we're sending it back into next game with our casters. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Kelly. And here we are, match number 8 overall, match 2 on the day. And it's just been a fantastic day of Fortnite. My name's Sundown, joined by Clay Stelling, calling all the action. And Clay, who are you keeping an eye on this game?
We definitely got to keep an eye on our team that just ended up picking up that victory royale all the way over in Craggy Cliffs. Well, they were dropping in Craggy. That's normally where they would be if they were not contested there. But Hunter's Haven, I believe, going to be the POI of choice out here as well, all the way over to this nice, beautiful addition to the map pretty late in the meta. Has offered so much, but it was with the removal of some of the other areas around here. They are doing so well coming out swinging.
Yeah, coming out swinging, just trying to get as much loot as possible around this little cantina area. Again, we talk about kind of how center of the map is such a high priority for so many of these teams. The reason is it makes rotations just a little bit safer, a little bit more predictable. But you also notice how on this particular looting path, they get a lot of room to be able to occupy.
And not a lot of people are going to go up towards to contest them. They have to go up many different inclines to try to get into Hunter's Haven. So they're kind of protected all around by these big hills that you see Blizzy nearby. So not really worried about being a little bit too greedy on their loot. No sniper shots really going to come through there for them. Blizzy is going out to go look for some of these tags, loot up as well. We see for the first time, I think in a while, Slim and Temple going to go down. Ruben and company turning that fight back in their favor, and they will take down Little Slim. And just waiting on that Temple elimination, may be able to confirm that one soon. But great elims over there. But Blizzy and company really need to keep this up, because going into that game, so now they were in 20th place and now jumping up pretty high. They could do it.
And still plenty of Fortnite to be played, plenty of points on the table, both through eliminations and placements. We're going to swing back on board here to our current first place team. You can see Extra Quinn, TSG, Dylan, and Juicy. Again, uncontested over at Steamy Stacks, making sure they're looting up as much as possible. And this is something I love from Quinn. He's hitting these super high value targets in terms of where you're getting your materials. Each one of those swings is very efficient in terms of getting mats over there. The metal there, very important. You're hitting all of those between those and the fences, allow you to get to max metal in almost as quickly as anywhere else on the map. I think there might be 1 or 2 spots that are just slightly faster, but it's one of the most valued commodities in a drop spot.
And an NPC will always spawn here as well, so they can get that bounty to try to go for those gold upgrades on the rotation. But it's so valuable to have your POI uncontested because you get so much more loot. And now we get to see Retail Row. This team that we're watching, Nutfee and company, had the high ground going into those final zones, but just was not able to convert on it and not able to grab these eliminations. As a team is rolling up, I believe this is Trashy, Epic Walrus, and EXE. As a gas can going to come through, they're all in wood built. It's going to burn them as well as break them up. They're going into the house trying to get away, but the gas can explosion, there was a double one down there. Going to tag them both up, and look at how low they are. Actually, my apologies. It's the other Poppins, Carp and company, who did really well game number one. Game number one, not game number 6, but they are not doing so hot here.
Yeah, they're getting pushed down, trying to fight box to box inside the house, but your house is on fire, literally and figuratively, as each one of them will pick up an elimination. That's teamwork. Nutfee, Symphony, and Cash getting off to a good start here. They had a solid match number 1, and now rolling it over here into 3 eliminations off the start in match number 2 on the day.
Now an early rotation coming out of 40R Storm, Macon, and Reed already inside of Slurpee Swamp. They know the fight here is messy, it is long, but for the first time, I think in these finals, it ended very, very quickly and convincingly in the favor of Buzzo's team. And so they weren't able to capitalize on the eliminations like they thought they were, the Storm Surge like they thought they would be able to. And that's something they have struggled with. Last game, not as much until that final moment where they had to go in with the RPG and they weren't able to convert eventually. So I like that they're taking steps already to rotate out early before the zone even moves.
Yeah, and I think that also has to do with where the zone has pulled, becoming a little bit more to the southwest, so they don't necessarily have to worry about so many teams coming towards them, as all of those kind of northwestern side teams are just going to stay on the northern side of that zone. They don't have to come all the way down towards this area or potentially path over by swamps. So it seems like they're taking a little bit more of a calculated path to avoid contact, but still want to make sure they get their surge. So we're going to hop on board here with the trio coming out of Sweaty Sands. So we've talked about them normally creating enough room that nobody's nearby, but there's a team running a scavenger route in between. We didn't see this a lot yesterday.
No, we didn't, and they're going over here to go to this house. The Reaper spawns over here, and he does allow you to get upgrades, and so it's desperately needed for them. As we see a lot of trios play around the upgrades, they can get really good weapons coming out of it. And then, like we saw them do before, they've even double upgraded at a different POI. And this is great for them. They're going to be able to upgrade, but can they translate this into something else? Can they get these Storm Surge tags? Especially because they just let that team go for free.
I wouldn't say for free. They got their upgraded weapons, and I'm also a little shocked that teams haven't taken to a scorched earth policy. Now, kind of going to a little bit of a history lesson here, but scorched earth refers to just the denial of resources to your opponents, and I'd expect at the highest level that you'd be taking away those NPCs, the Reapers, the ones who are the Condors, the ones who are able to give over those key upgrades and kind of the key weaponry, because you don't want other players doing it, particularly if you're landing around there. It's not too much effort for a trio to just focus fire down, get the headshots, not trade out any damage. It's the same thing. I mean, I would really expect these top players to be doing that, maybe shooting out the tires from cars that they're not utilizing, especially if they're on kind of a common rotation path, but we don't necessarily see a ton of that.
No, we don't. And we saw it in the reboot round of NA East where the Snowman was denied from Colazzo and company, and it changed the way they played the game completely. And so it's very powerful to deny an upgrade or even an exotic purchase from enemies if you were landing nearby. Definitely think we may see it come into play a little bit later, but I'm with you. I'm surprised to see that it has not come into play as we would have expected it to.
Yeah, but right now you can see Reet carrying 9 rockets there. And again, we've talked about when do you decide to use them, when do you decide to go. They've been a lot more of kind of find them with the Storm Surge tags because they've been pushed and threatened to. Ideally, you kind of want to save that rocket for a later game situation so you can make either a decisive high ground take or try and find a full trio elimination on the low ground by sneaking in some shots. But we're seeing, again, the patented build a massive stone fort in the middle of the map here by checking Kytrex in a veil and then just post up with these first shot accuracy weapons, these legendary heavy ARs. You hit a single one of those tags, it does a lot of damage.
And this is exactly how they've done it time and time again. Every game I think we've watched from them, we've seen it. Look, someone's actually taking a liking to their strat and done 2 on the opposite side as snipes are going to be traded out there. Neither one going to hit. Chicken finally with a sniper in his inventory. Let's see if he's going to be able to hit a shot. He tells his teammate, hey, they're trying to sand tunnel there, break it, maybe able to get some tags on them rotating through. He does grab some. That shield tag going to go through. Those gonna really be negated because they are in the sand. It has that HP right there that you're seeing, those white tags. It will force them to pop out, maybe combo with a sniper, but they are already sundown. They are one of the first teams to really prioritize that early rotation, and that's why they're doing so well.
And that's the key, and that's why you see them landing in the center of the map, being there, getting as much resources as possible, getting tags, because teams are going to have to go past you. Then you have those 0-point crystals that don't end up taking a utility slot, the instant consumables, and they make these rotations just that much safer. You're so hard to hit in this regard. If you get sniped basically while you're 0-point phasing, it's just so absurd. The biggest threat on these rotations, you can see them making sure they're checking the bushes around him, and Avail just firing off shots with his sniper as well. So 2 currently in the loadout of this trio.
That one was really close through the bush into an open edit there. They do get a rotation into the zone. Not maybe where they wanted, as we get to see where Quinn, Dylan, and Juicy are set up again. First place team still coming out of game number 1. But how long can they hold on to their lead for? As they are based up right above a team, and being all the way over here from Steamy Stacks, I wonder how many Storm Surge tags they got, because there's not that many players on this side of the map.
Yeah, it's going to be the question again. We'll see kind of that warning tick over here in just about 10 seconds, and then we'll kind of get stock of where the top trios are in terms of the Storm Surge. But right now, expect just a ton of AR trading, potentially a few snipes coming out, and right now Quinn just trying to find an angle, doing a good job making sure he's resetting, guarding his teammate, and catching the 24 tag there. Going to keep them 49 above, but with still 13 players who need to go down to that Storm Surge. They're a little bit dangerous. 2 back-to-back tags will put them almost triple digits above. They should be at least close to safe for this this threshold, but they have to be keeping an eye on the next one too.
Yeah, the AR tags for this trio looking so good. They have a lot of ammo to do it with as well. Don't really have to worry about conserving that in their inventory. They're spread out really well to look for all different sorts of angles, and if FJ and company do make a mistake, they are ready to pounce on that, to go aggressive. Dylan looking with a sniper rifle though, trying to find anybody on that west side of zone coming over. And speaking of the west side of zone, we get to see Rex, Arkram, and Epic Whale and see exactly where they are positioned. Have yet to really move from their initial landing spot, and being because of that, they're below Storm Surge by 14 damage.
They're below Storm Surge. They're going to be one of 4 trios under here, and it will start ticking over in 50 seconds, which is very unfortunate because, again, we talked about them having just an abundance of space around their drop spot. Well, that wasn't necessarily the case this time, so you would have thought they got Storm Surge tags. Instead, ran around a little bit to bolster their utility. However, if you don't get a chance to use it, what good is having it, as they end up eating shots on both sides now? That was white tags onto Rex as well. They're going to trade back some more damage, but the clock is against them as they're only 12 damage above Storm Surge, and it's going to start hitting here in 20 seconds, so they're kind of be forced to go. And oh, that's making him 40R Storm, so if they go, and that's the trio they pick, that's a rocket launcher waiting for them.
And Avail just got knocked in defeat as well. That's our 4th place team. Our 3rd place team, I believe, already out of this game. So much is riding on these sides. Rex is trying to get in, 60 below, now 2 above. The tags are there. That player going very aggressive. The editor Rex are there, but he's tagged up from a third party, has to back out, has to disengage. They don't have time to. It's going to start hitting. Damage is coming through. They are above now, barely. Going back and forth, the teeter-totter above and below is coming through, but Epic Whale going to go down. Pelican going to be the one to do so. They're 375 above. Can they get in the box? Can he do it? Can he save him? The Chug Buster's there with 1 HP. Rex comes in clutch. Oh! The elimination as well. Big hit there, but can he get the revive?
And you can see that HP still taking over on Epic Whale, trying to make sure he gets back to him. They're going to be communicating. You see that green kind of cross go next to his name. That means Arkham is picking him up. You can see Rex defending, and that was so absurdly clutch by Rex. That was disgusting in the best of ways. He definitely needs to take a shower after that one with the chug splashes. I mean, getting the clutch splash at the last moment. For those of you who don't know, the chug splash gives AoE healing, but it works on down but not out players as well. So right before Epic Whale ticked over with very minimal chance of getting a reboot in such a packed lobby, he was able to chug splash, turn, edit the wall, hit a huge lever shotgun shot to get the final confirmation, and then guarantee they're able to get the revive, then having all of the loot from that trio wipe, keeping them above Storm Surge. So just a monstrous play there, keeping them in contention.
That's what you want to see from them coming through. Decisive action onto a trio. Clutch plays by Rex once again. That has been the story of their finals and their run. Rex always put in these situations where he has to perform, and he does time and time and again. Now over to Quinn, Dylan, and Juicy, who are having a hard rotation. Only 30 builds remaining here on Quinn. He is building a lot to get into the zone, already down to very minimal mats. Meanwhile, Juicy and Dylan are going off in a different direction. They're separated. This is not what we want to see. We want to see them fighting as a unit. They do find some extra loot, but getting tagged from behind, everything is going wrong for them in this moment. Can they make it go right? Can they fix this problem? And they can. They're getting back together. They're box to box. They have heals. They have a good amount of mats on Juicy and Dylan, but can they convert that into an in-game performance?
Yeah, you can hear the upstairs neighbors there clomping on those metal builds. They know they aren't safe, and the map in the bottom right-hand corner definitely verifies that. There's so many trios on top of them, but we've talked about how they have been the most consistent trio in NA West in terms of the placement, largely due to Quinn and his ability to kind of guide them through here. And you can see branching out and making sure they're getting into the safe zone, because he knows that real estate on this side is going to be getting slim.
Now we get to look at Kytrex, Avail, and Chicken. Avail will be picked back up. He did get knocked for a brief moment, but back in the game, fighting here as we're panning around. A lot of people on this edge of zone. West staying with the tradition of, if there's people nearby, we're going to jam pack on top of them, especially on the edge here. The 5G trio up above our first place trio, who again have a very, very hard rotate to make because it pulls right into the middle of Sweaty Sands.
Oh, this is going to be so tough for everyone on the northeast side. You see there, bottom right-hand corner of your screen, all of those little triangles packed on the eastern side of the circle. The rotation is going to have to come out an early bouncer, making sure they're doing it low, so they're not necessarily the best targets for AR. And that wall just ate a heavy bullet that was going to be destined for Quinn, and he couldn't afford to have taken it, as he then immediately
Look at the point difference
Udah,
right
saya
now.
jual
This
parel.
is not even a 10-point
Sumpah,
difference
sorry
between
juga.
11th and 15th place.
Apaan?
It is
Gua
a
pernah
very
lagi
close
harus
competition. And
gua.
remember,
Oh ya,
obviously
the
all these
force
teams
ya,
are fighting
asli.
for first place, but they're also
Gua
just
juga masuk.
fighting for spots on
Gua
the
juga
table
masuk.
as well, because every time you make it to another placement, you get from 5th to 4th. That's like another $3,000 that you've just added to your pocket.
Tadi apa
Even if
jawabannya?
you can't make it to first,
Seru ya, Bas?
you
Tadi
can
seru ya,
sure
Bas?
bet that all of these teams are going to be fighting for as much as they can.
Yeah, and
Lu pas tadi pada
all these
kagak ada,
teams in
bego,
general,
kasihan banget,
I feel like
sumpah.
there's still a chance, even all the way
Hah?
to
Pas
20th
apa?
to hit first.
Ah,
Like,
coba.
4 more games, and like these guys are looking really good.
No.
Each win has like 9 elims. We can definitely boost it up.
Uji apa tadi,
Squad
Mon?
has to slow down, and Epic will have to fall
True,
back
true.
to sleep. I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon.
Bro,
These are tall orders
Yeah.
for sure, but hey, anything.
Iya,
Now
ujian.
we are moving on to game number
Albin,
3 on the
nah,
day.
UAS,
Let's get back over
masih
to our
UAS.
casters to take us in.
Gua
you
mau
guys.
siapa tuh?
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shayo, and
Corey.
Ellie. And here we are, match number 3 in day 2, match number 9 overall.
The ranks.
4 left in the entirety
Maaf, bro.
of this FNCS. And what a way
Daeng.
to
Lanjut,
wrap
Daeng.
up chapter 2.
Itu ganti, Bas.
Season 5. Thank you for tuning in.
Jangan,
Wherever you're
Bas.
watching in the world,
Satu,
and
Bas, satu,
wherever
Bas.
Ganti, Bas.
you are
Gua,
on.
Bos.
Special shout out to those tuning in from Party
Ya
Royale.
masa rojulan zakarahu
Out, take some notes,
jamini.
have a seat. Whatever
Bahwa
your
ya
favorite
bulu.
emote is. My name's Sundown, calling all the action alongside Clay
Masih itu
Stelling. So we're
cebok
gonna
pakai
hop
tangan
on
kanan ya?
here with our last match winners.
Ngeker pakai tangan kanan, Su.
They've had an interesting story.
Ngeker.
Caddy corner
Iya,
Oh,
iya,
ngeker.
Pak.
very early on, I believe, in either game
False.
number 1 or 2
Kayaknya tuh anjir
yesterday.
lu.
They were contesting.
Asogilu mumayizu yumaru bil ibadati lianna minal mukallafin.
Lanjut, lanjut.
Early tags, early elimination.
Ah, benar,
Aggression
Potong.
was the name of their game.
False.
Holding it down a lot coming into today. They realized the position they put themselves in.
Alladhi
Sumpah,
yad'ulu bil khitaba bil amri wan nahyi.
So well because of it.
It's really impressive to be able to see
Bukan
that
jami'an
level of
nas-
execution and
bel-
making sure you're working together. And it just goes to show how one massive game can really change the
Lu nggak usah
pace.
ngegugat Herbes ya, gue udah pegang
There's a lot
kayu.
of momentum here. There's a lot of consistency that ends up
Okay,
coming out when you're able to
guys.
feel like you can
Oke,
roll and
Herbes.
win fast, particularly now.
Lanjut,
they're getting a
Herbes.
little bit of confidence as well. Maybe they can chain together some positive performances here.
As-salatu majnunul balik makbula.
Salatul Majnun.
Iya, Bos. Waktu orang bilang nggak terima, Bang, Bos.
And if they're able to
Salatnya berakal, tuh.
get some extra goals,
Asik.
Masa dong dia kalau ngauci.
Oh, udah jauh baru ngomong. Udah jauh baru ngomong.
Dia nyindir lu, katanya lu gak berakal.
Para bot nyong di sini juga nyong.
Para banget, masalah berakal kan cepat ya, kan berakal su, asik.
A whole nother trio is in a
Mur, parah, Mur,
and
Simon.
Kytrex.
Demi
They're
Allah.
gonna disengage.
Demi ikutan.
This is the fastest we've seen them.
Kalau gini main, kalau gini nggak suka mainnya paksa.
Every single game, they've done that pseudo build fort strategy where they build up massive and stone and just look for tags around the area. So I
Haji
wonder what
Bus
kind of force
Zakala.
this change in gameplay.
Mainnya fakta.
Tuh,
Maybe not
55 Jenun.
performances, but still
Maksudnya 55 Jenun apaan, Bos?
still within striking
Kan
distance
gila, oh iya.
Anjir itu be.
first place, and it's
Oh,
interesting to see. We'll have to
tolong,
wait and
tolong,
look at
goblok.
the
Bego.
story
Kayak
of
lu
the
ganteng,
game
kayak
to
lu.
determine
Jadi
exactly
sini
why
kalau Mur.
he wanted to go
Ih,
a
wah,
bit
gitu.
more aggressive. Maybe
Gak lucu mainnya,
not
sumpah.
having the eliminations they're getting early games.
Yeah, they've been getting plenty of storm surge tags, but not necessarily converting
26
them into
guys,
anything
lanjut,
else.
guys.
Maybe just looking to occupy a little bit more space,
25
kind of
apaan ya?
extend their reach out, poke and prod around them, and then just head back.
Tahu
especially
lu.
because they are in the zone.
Memastikan,
And look
tolong.
for that kind of
Jangan.
effort.
Kayak bisa
Jangan.
mikirnya lu.
Almost some
Jangan,
additional
Dir.
bounce pads
Kan berakal.
coming through from that. So
Para
they're
bot
gonna be
anjing
happy.
gini nyong sindir mulu.
Indeed, with
Lucu kan?
Isaac
Lu buat mulu
and
anjing.
Nyong bercandanya.
Ya aslam zaujani
Bercandanya,
al-kafirun
bercandanya asik banget anjing.
have
Jadi
very
asik
interesting
keren.
drop spots throughout
Alfada
the
apaan?
finals. They do get one
Memperbarui.
elimination rotate out early to grab some extra loot. Now going to be able to go back in. Nobody's seemingly on this side, and I like that they're going back and trying to grab any extra loot because they are not full on mats. They can look for rotation if they want.
Yang mana?
There is
Dibilang,
two
yo.
upgradable NPCs there. If they were
Nggak
not
tahu dah, gue
taken
ini
out by the teams
sabar,
that land there,
Kalau ada dia nolek aja.
overall,
Apa ini dia?
not the setup, you just have to be able
Oh,
to
kan
convert.
lu pengen kriteria dok.
Which is
Udin
what
mana
the
dia?
league is all
Kodok-kodok
about,
kalau misalnya
getting
masuk
the
klipnya nggak
utility,
direstuin sama
setting
orang tuanya.
yourself up, and then
Ada ya?
executing
Ada
on
orang
the
tua kayak gitu
options
ya?
that you've given
Iya, Bang,
yourself.
restuin.
We see these players
Iya
do
nih,
it.
orang tuanya
Just to
nggak mau,
remind
kodok
you,
mau
you
syari.
are watching
Sumpah.
FCS finals. We have earned a crown.
Ada ya orang tua kayak gitu ya?
Demi Allah itu mah orang tuanya fix anjing.
We've given out
Paling
18
galuh,
axes of
Tahu dah,
champions that will
Tom.
be worn
Kagak mau
until we
nemuin aja
have
anjir.
new champions next season coming
Dia
through.
ngomong sendiri
Which
ke
yet
gua,
again
tawa
will
lagi
be
anaknya.
trios on the
Ya orang,
line.
berarti orang tuanya
Today
sayang
here
sama
in
dia,
NA
nggak mau
West,
jauh-jauh.
the
Dia udah
number
di
one
udah di
spot
rawa
will
aja di
receive the
teratai.
rest of that prize
Apaan
money,
sih tolol?
and
Orang
the
tuanya
axe,
pengennya
the top
asri
three will be
anaknya.
qualified
Oh.
straight through to the Chapter 2 Season 6
Bro,
FNCS
ngumpet di
Finals.
eceng gondok
That is
gitu
a
kan.
massive boon to be able to get into that as we
Itu kan kandang maknya, udah kandang maknya kagak bisa
just
itu.
outside of the slumps between Union Food, Jeffus, and Darkness in another trio.
Our reboot round winners looking to try to
Pas
come
gua
back
ngomong gitu
in
kodok
because
pas
reminder,
ngediem anjing,
even
sebel
if
banget
you
tuh
think
kodok.
they're not in the running for that number one
Baper
spot,
bego
there's
kodok
so
lu.
much
Kodok cerita
on
kalau
the
berarti cuma buat lu
line,
doang,
especially
Tom.
if
Lu
you're
mah
able
nggak
to
bisa ada
get
rahasia
into
deh.
that
Parah
top
banget
10,
anjing gendong ya.
solidify yourself up there. Again, every placement goes up by a significant amount of
Bro,
money
bro,
for your
bro.
trio.
Pals kok,
So they're
bus, pals,
looking to
pals.
capitalize on these eliminations. They have
Pals,
fought
bus.
this
False,
game, I think,
Kenapa
every
false, Dok?
single game here
Hah?
today, looking
false,
to turn it
Dok?
around once
Kata
Soalnya
maknya lalu
again,
kata
trying to
maknya.
make something
Soalnya ada
happen, but
gentong.
does not seem
Bro,
like it's
bro.
going their
Kalau
way.
nyari di Google, Pos.
But I'm all for this. Like, I would much rather see these teams looking to take fights, looking to get a little bit more aggressive, and avoid the problems with this. Particularly if you've been struggling to find a drop spot and finding an area where you can execute. But you know
Al-kafir
you're
idza
together.
aslama la
Keep poking,
yaqdi
keep prodding.
ma
Eventually,
fatahu
somebody's
minal
going to
ibadati
crash.
halul
Their
kaf
Oh,
is
kufrihi.
katanya
the best. They've had to
laknya.
fight for 4
Jadi
weeks to
benar,
even get to this
pola
level.
itu artinya
So they know
benar,
they're able to
kata
execute
Arbes.
some manner or down, shows it off there. They're able to win
Goblok,
a spot
goblok.
fight, pick up
Itu
3
tadi
eliminations,
dibiruin sama
because
Arbes,
they're in
Cok.
sort of
Ya
a
iya,
position to be able to
tolol.
get right back up to
Apaan?
that
Bukimak.
200 effective
Apaan?
threshold, no problem.
Great
Mata
back
Yakub.
fighting there. Did not worry
Me.
about their teammate being down in the lane.
Nih, itu baca.
And
Mata
speaking
Yakub.
of trios that have
Gimana yang
and
itu?
Yakub
being
kafir.
down
Mata Yakub
affected
kafir.
performance,
Demi
it's
Allah.
art from
Balik.
Academic Wells.
Ini udah itu lagi.
Some sweaty fans down near
tadi.
looking for these
Tadi
tabs,
27 apa?
trying to make sure they don't get put in that situation
False.
once again.
Hah? Seriusan, Cuk?
You can see there also
gitu.
in
Mata
the
Yakub
True yang
kafir.
true.
opting to
Ala
carry that
tarak.
legendary pistol. We've talked about it a
Baca
little
loh.
bit. Why
Mata
would you
Yakub.
decide to carry it? Well, largely
Kafir.
because one, the first shot
Ida
accuracy
mata,
we said on that,
ida
aka
mata.
when you stand still or when you crouch down, that first shot
Ida
coming in
mata
is one of
kafir.
the
Ida mata
fastest,
kafir.
the fastest in the game. Additionally, it doesn't have
Ida mata
a
kafir.
reduced headshot multiplier. All
Iya,
the ranges have
sungguh.
a 1.5 headshot
Gua nggak ngeliat
multiplier.
itu, Tong.
Ya, ya,
So
kubun.
25 damage coming through if you are able to
Bawahnya
get shots together.
taklif.
And these guys are scary.
Jamima zakat
In addition to that, it means you can funnel all your light ammunition onto one player.
taklif.
Traditionally,
Lanjut,
you're not
Bas.
really
Wah,
carrying
iya.
more than
Ya,
one
kubus.
weapon that ends up utilizing the light ammo. So you can kind of spread your
Al
Jalu.
That's what you see.
Masih satu jam,
You have
anjing.
so much available resources.
Ketru bukan,
for
Bro.
assault rifles.
Kenapa coba
That
Tru coba
early
deal?
rotation sets them up so
Foto,
well
foto,
for this
foto.
next zone
Kau
as
tanya
we
dulu
get
kenapa
to
Tru
see
coba deal?
where
Pendapat
it
tuh
ends
kenapa
up
deal?
pulling. There's a trio around
Dia
the
langsung
side.
matiin anjing.
Diem, bertanya diem.
Tagged up. They do not want to use
Sabar.
Udah.
those flash
Belum dia gua mau kudil baperan dah.
early, but
Tolol.
looking to try to push some sniper shots onto the trio. They do realize that they're separated. If
Lagi
Zaz
nunduk,
makes a
Loon.
mistake, they could be very aggressive and push towards them. Also,
Coba
Mon, kemudian disamperin nggak, Mon? Sama Kudil, Mon, di Bekasi.
let everyone know, hey,
Demi Allah,
we're not
kagak,
looking
demi
that way. You
Allah.
don't gotta worry about us right now. We're looking back for those storm
Lu gimana
shots.
sih, Dil?
Main bola sama Kudil, sumpah kagak main bola sama Kudil.
And have yet to move out of
Pengen
their
liat dia
landing
Scorpio-nya
POI
Kudil lagi,
on
anjing.
a high ground fighting Nate and Busy. In an awkward situation, if the zone pulls to where you're going, you have to really go out of your way to find these storm shot tags. And we've seen it again
Boleh
from the
lah.
trio, where they're here.
True.
early into the mid game. My
Lanjut,
question is,
Bos.
how many tags do they have?
Wah,
And is
iya.
it tangible enough to put them
Itu
above?
foto gimana sih?
Wah iya.
Nama
We're
gerbotnya
talking about
foto-foto.
tags, that means getting the hit.
Gue bilang
Apaan sih,
apa,
Mon?
Mon? Gue bilang apa?
Atasnya putih tuh.
Kind of keep track of
Iya
that
deh,
damage.
Su, mending kayak lu ya.
Hey, I got 22 there. Oh, there's a headshot.
Apaan
I
sih,
got
Bot? Apaan
38.
sih?
And you know generally
Atasan
how
putih pakai
much
seragam
damage
gitu.
you dealt. You keep track of that, and they've got
Ada gua ada.
Kapan,
Gua ada.
tolol?
they need over the course of this to kind of remain above.
Ya ke meja lah.
One thing that's really beneficial about this area and the position they have is that regardless
Meja
of
putih.
where Storm Surge ends up going on,
Apa nih, Bos?
most of
31,
the
Bos?
lobby is going to have to rotate.
Sekarang nentuin ini ya, nentuin SPM
Al
ya.
hukuk, al akuk,
Iya, ada ini.
hukuk,
Sekarang nentuin
al
SBM.
ibadah tumin ada wajibun auroman.
Jam berapa dah?
Jam 3.
Jam
Nyong, sini Nyong.
Ah?
Apaan jam 3?
Ah, skip
Hari ini
ini, Su.
gelombang 1.
Gua
Wah, Nyong.
Katanya gelombang dari sononya.
Apaan sih
Iya,
gelombang
lu udah
apaan
pada
di
sekarang
rumah?
tanggal 12 deketnya. Hari pertama.
Snipers when it comes to mine, and now
Anjir,
Storm Surge
lu
is
dasar kapan, guys?
to give us that warning. 17 players
Belakang.
are going to
Awas,
be
ya,
below, and with the update there, 54 above for Nate Lizzie and
Takut ini, Mon. Gue udah berakhir nanti gue udah tesnya di ini lagi Bali. Touring dulu kali. Gue nggak sekalian touring ya ke sana.
Waduh.
Touring gue mah biasa.
They have a
Yes,
decent
sir.
sight lines on those who are going to be rotating,
Set.
but they are going to have to expose themselves and want to
Maaf,
avoid
Cuk.
any excess damage against the Spidey there.
Namun si
Actually, taking a couple
Kaisu.
shots. Kytrex, Veil, and Chicken,
Ah?
who had rotated
Kira
to
gimana lagi?
Weeping Woods and then rotated back
SBM maksudnya tolong.
from the Butter Barn,
Tiga doang kan?
pretty much due north towards the
Ada
zone.
lagi
Ubed
lah.
nggak? Ubed ikut SBM ya, Ubed ya?
They are, but they
Ubed
don't
apa dah?
have to worry about these tags anymore because they're 406.
Kalau dia tolol dia pengen dakwah baca dia.
Orang depan di Mars goblok
Ow!
ngapain?
I'm sorry, I'm just so flabbergasted. Without a single elimination, how are you finding around
Dicariin
500
susah banget, anjing.
damage on the center of those maps? Is this like what
Nomor
the point of going
teleponnya
into
udah kayak-
routines? Like I'm gonna go back and VOD review this myself before the new season. is
Nomor HP-nya
coming
beda,
out, just to find like where they're getting
Dikit
these
doang.
shots that aren't also converting into eliminations. As I speak of converting into eliminations, keep an eye on that top
Aduh,
left
ada
corner
angka,
there.
ada
Vegas was
hurufnya.
able to find two, but Reed also
Kayak
ended
nomor
up getting
4.
knocked still.
Dicariin setengah
Oh,
mati.
he called it out right there. Juicy Dylan down just
Pas
onto the
masuk
back of
kagak
Quinn for what could be
nggak
the
bersalah
first
gua.
time here in the NA West portion of the finals. The
Debet,
entirety of our first place trio could fall outside of the play.
Kemarin lagi cuman pisan sama gua, Tom.
Quinn is
Apaan dok ya,
down
Bang?
as well.
Katanya,
And
Dok.
all of a
Apaan?
sudden, the
Ibu
door
bukan.
is open, but who will have the sense of poison rationality
Kok
to
Jakarta
actually push
terus sih
through
jawabannya?
and take advantage of the
Sudah semuanya
opportunity
bener, goblok.
that Quinn, Juicy, and Dylan have just given here in match number 9.
Will it be our
Gantong komen mulu ya.
Epic Whale? Will it be Kenshi, Snacky, and Piss? Will it be Chicken of
Anisya la yu
or
akhi
even our
bil
fifth place
insan.
trio of Jagsir and Mojo
Oh.
Solution? Can they capitalize on this
True.
huge opportunity coming into
Anisyan
this
tuh
game?
Ntar gimana sih
Down
SBM daftarnya
point,
yang nggak ngerti dah gua.
First place team
Su.
going
Hey.
down early. They have got to
Katanya lu
know
nggak ikut
that this is a
SBM, Mon.
game they need to pop off on.
Di ini di web yang
First
LTMBT
opportunity you've had to
dibuka
really
UTBK.
pick up points against the leader.
Eh,
We've seen a number of times
SBMPTN,
where at the top of the pack,
didaftar, terus
separation,
bayar.
but over the first couple of games today, Quinn, Juicy, and
Bayar
Dylan
apa?
had started to
Bayar,
open up
200.000.
this game. They had a 23-point lead on
Iya,
Arkham
Nyong.
Rex and Epic Whale, and then a 51-point lead on pretty much
Mahal,
everyone
anjir.
else, a 50-plus
Yang
point
beli
lead on everyone who's down to like 6-plus
Gorengan.
place. So I mean, they were
gorengan 200.
starting to create a decent amount of distance to at least arguably
Iyalah,
guarantee them
goblok.
the top 3, but now falling all of a sudden opens up
Tolong dah.
Iyalah, gorengan gocengnya dapat.
as we are going to hop over to our
Haha,
second
Dudi.
place team,
Rijal.
the absolute
Rijal kebo.
Goliath of the
Rijal kebo,
West.
Rijal kebo, Rijal kebo. Ditambah.
Almost able
Ah,
to
kebo.
get that elimination on the
34 apa?
Warren, but not able to
Ya baca kurcaci.
one elimination. They're not
Tiga-tiga,
gonna come back
tiga-tiga.
or another one nearby. But if you go through their loadouts, It's so good because they
Parabat
rotate
Bi,
so
parabat
early
Bi.
time, and they
Jangan
set
gentong
up
Bi,
in
Yaku
the
bapet
middle
Bi,
of
parabat
the
Bi.
zone.
Tidak dapat pisan aku
Emang
Bima dibuka Bima.
This is what you need. The ingredients are here. Shy away
Mak, kata
drops.
gentong
Still
Wario,
have
Alvin.
line sundown, because finally they're in a spot where they can get Stormtroopers.
Oh, parah banget dia karena prihadi dia, parah banget dia.
Prihadi.
But the real question
Ah,
is, are
Kristen.
we cooking or are we baking? Are we following the recipe or do we put a little pizzazz on it?
Prihadi Kristen gara
Right
nikah
now,
aja gak diterima
in the
sumpah.
center of the
Gara
zone,
istri.
I don't think they're just going to be able to cook this one out. I think they're going to have to bake it a little bit here.
Kudul
nyumpah
Put
itu
kedengeran
a little bit more
Sumpah,
thought and
sumpah,
care
Imam.
into what goes into each one of those
Iya
steps
anjing
and the
gak seru banget.
timing of
Maksudnya
it.
gue 4 tahun
Because
udah dikasih
that
Kristen,
fourth
si
zone
Kudul
rotation,
diem-diem
getting
bayar.
to the
Gue
outside
Kristen
is
tolol.
going to be nearly
Haleluya.
impossible unless it's a super favorable
Sebel gue
course
anjing.
in terms of where this zone goes. So keeping it
Sundul dia,
right
sundul.
on the screen where the map is. The fourth zone is the last safe zone that is
Gue
completely
dicet ini, gue
inside
dicet sama
the
dia nih di
previous one.
Bukannya
di-
apa?
dia.
Zone, it'll be half in, half out.
Apaan
What
katanya?
that means is our trios will
Mathias
prioritize
Limon,
position
keluarga
on the
Kristen lagi,
outside of the zone.
matinya.
Di demi
Ya Allah,
Allah.
saya
terlalu
Matnya mati suruh
Tetap-
orang.
tetap utang bes dia. Tetap ngutang kan?
Very slim, which means they'll at least
Jadi
have
ngutang terus
some
lupa.
form of rotation to make. Where
Iya,
some
Mas.
three teams around the outside are going to
cobaan
have
tuh lunas emang.
priority side. And as I say that, they got as much of a favorable zone
Layas kutu
as you
anhu
can pretty much get
jaring
there.
artinya apa?
Our third place team
Dia
getting
dengar,
it
Pak.
as well. They're right across
Gugur
the
kagak?
lake from them. They're watching each other move throughout their
Dia
matches.
dengarkan
So
oleh agama.
great look for both of these trios.
Alfat.
Sixth place is in this zone as well.
Iya.
Where are Chicken, Avail, and Kytrex though? My guess is it's those arrows rotating through.
Apa
No
sih
heavy
artinya
trap,
pahayain
we
anak,
know they like
pahayain
to work
gila.
it early, so they've got to already be in the zone. They've got such big moments right now. It's and she is looking for the swimmer tags. But he's got to be careful. There's a lot of players on that side of the map that are
Coba
looking
dong.
for tags on their rotate.
Apaan?
You can see, you're probably thinking to yourself, wow, what an amazing angle that is. Well, regardless, an open window doesn't matter if you haven't rammed
Yang
there.
berduin apa?
Somebody's
Coba,
going to find a slot with 62 players left, coming down into basically the transition into the mid game. Then we'll have the transition.
langsung
to the
diem
late
dong,
game.
kodok
And
langsung
now
diem
Kodok
dong.
training PP-nya usir, paling bocor dah paling dong.
Minutes here. Things are only going to get tighter as the fight for the race is going to happen.
Paling luka dah lu,
See
paling
Grove
balap
picking up
liar
the full
dah.
confirmation there.
Kemarin
Going to Storm, you see the
mau
Storm Surge
PW
running.
aja dia mas
Coming
mau
in
mau
as
samain
well.
pacaran
In
kan.
fact, four different
Asik.
trios here.
Emang apaan dong?
21 players are left
Cobaan.
on their feet.
PPW aja kan dia pakai masker ya, gua masker hitam.
We
Cobaan
get to
itu.
see
Iya.
where Avail
Wih.
and Chicken
Pacarnya
are.
pakai
Sundown,
sampo.
they've done no damage.
Layas kutu
Moving in from that
kita
zone,
nggak
they're
kena
only
beban
40
utang.
above.
Sekarang
From
pacarnya pakai APD, Mon.
450 to 40. This is where they need to operate perfectly because if they're going down, there's 11 players that are below right now. If they're not able to find tags, they're gonna have to burn through those heals.
Nggak apa-apa ya
You can
dok
see
ya,
them
yang
just
timnya pacaran
spraying
pacaran dulu
away
kan,
at
pacar
walls,
orang ya.
hoping to
Hah?
find something. A couple
Parah
of
banget
those
tidur
tags
tuh.
could be enough to guarantee safety, but there's no guarantee. We're gonna swing.
Kan udah putus, Mon, ya.
This match
Oh,
winner here.
iya.
Currently sitting
Bebas
40 below Storm
Iya.
Surge, but no really
36 apa, 36
urgency
dus.
on them. They're just chilling
35
inside
lagi
the cone,
goblok.
potentially looking to
35.
catch somebody
Nah,
rotating.
kamu
And
nggak-
everyone's basically
La,
already
yang
into
la.
the zone towards the outside. Things could get awkward for them really quickly here.
Yeah, they're gonna have to find something. The Peppers are
Parah
top.
dong.
They're trying to go in. They
Naam
they
nggak
can
sih,
go back
naam?
with that zone revealing itself. This will be
Nah,
good for
apa?
them. These trios on the back
Sakoto
end
apa sih,
zone
Sakoto?
are gonna be in
Sakoto.
awkward situations just getting out of fights. Chicken is gonna take down
Satu
Temple here in the
tertimpa,
lead.
ditimpakan.
Right now, this
Anjay.
trio above knows they're gonna
Rizal
have to
dong,
try to
Rizal.
heal and
Rizal
get
dong,
in there.
Rizal.
Blue will be one
Arijal tuh, Mon.
if they're able to get involved, but right now they're standing alone. They're not going to take this advantageous. They have to
Modal.
Jackie is looking on
Kata
down
Mon,
15
kata
damage
Sakutu, kata
below.
Timba.
One player needs to down, so they're kind of just waiting. Falconer will go down, still need one more.
Ya,
They're trying
teh.
to out heal at this point. Will they be able to though? It
Tangkap
seems
kepala.
like for the moment they have
Oleh,
one player
iya gua lagi.
is still active. Chris is more than
Tadi
likely to
malah
go
kalau
down
Yudi.
and put some heals on him. And I like that they're not being realized, hey, he's the one
Eksperimen
player.
Yudi.
If we let him go down, we get his loot, and we
Dari
do
susah
not
banget
take
dok,
any
anjing,
more
setuju,
damage. What
sumpah.
a smart play.
Fantastic
Lu
decision.
mau
If
waktu lagi.
anything, realize just a
Mon, apa, Mon?
second
Jawabannya,
too
Mon.
late.
Kan,
Once
kuy.
you're in that
Ayo,
position where
baru.
only one player is going down and players are still dropping, realistically, spend no heals on that one guy. Sacrifice him over to the
Rijal,
Purple Thunder Gods
Rijal.
right away. offer him up on the table, say, here you go. This is what we got to move into the placement point threshold as we're into our top 17. With the Storm Surge now being turned off, at least for a little bit of respite here. However, a number of players are going to have to go down as we have a northern pull for that half and half. A number of teams in there, and Kendall, a huge shot there on the low ground. He's just going to cover his back and try to sprint and find a new layer, saying, I want nothing to do with that.
He finds the layer, but with 44 HP.
Masih bedanya ada tongkel doang, bedanya tongkel.
Kemarin yang Upin Ipin tapi yang gede tuh loh. The answer is no heal in the inventory. Luckily the zone is a little bit favorable there for them. It could have been way worse, but they have so many big guys all around them. Chicken Avail and Kytrex as well. Yeah, but that zone is moving pretty much right to the top of that little waterfall that's right there. You can see it come to the top left corner of your screen right now. It is going to be
pakai kudir bego
such
keren
a
baru
pain
lulus
for the teams to be able to get up to
Ya,
that slight
dikit
change in
banget.
mentality. If you're going later, the teams who are there, no problem, you're fine. But everyone else is building up ramps and trying to get up onto that high ground. You see CLGJ, Daddy Fabs, and Wavy Jacob trying to take an outside route. They're well above Storm Surge, so not threatened by that, and trying to get an angle to get up above. Immediately, you can see the decision to ramp up and change layers. Brilliant call there to get away and avoid that change of verticality I just talked about.
They're a low ground dominant team, playing that mid ground very well. Speaking of a mid ground team that could make an impact on high ground later, Kytrex, Chicken, and Avail, they are together. They are still below Surge, so that is going to be detrimental. Once again, Kytrex rocking the no shotgun in his inventory is rocking that SMG. Everyone going down around him. His teammate gonna go down. He's gonna go down as well. Avail and Chicken trying to make something happen. Chicken now gonna go down. All up to Avail. Flashes are there, but Storm Surge is gonna activate in 6 seconds. If he does not get any damage, more tags come through. He's below, running out of builds, down to wood. Can he find anything? Placement points just barely start coming through. He does have a good amount of strike. His bouncer gonna shoot with the cone. Gonna block it off. He is now above. The little bit of damage he dealt somewhere came through. A player went down. It's now off. He can operate without the threat of the Purple Thunder God coming through.
He's looking for just a little bit of space. Fortunately for him, works back into some of their older builds from earlier on in the match. So with just one build and a dream, he finds tons of space and even the time to take a shield. Now he's doubling back, trying to find a player working through here. And because the angle, he's actually in a really advantageous position, creating the wall to jump back through the window. Unfortunately, wasting a little bit of time there. Now he's to find an angle to get back into the zone. Not quite going to have it. Finds one time. Can he find the second? Not going to get it. He goes down 8th place. So good from Avail as we see the high ground playing such a huge role as the change in verticality. Old man Mountain, he's been quiet today. Rears his head and on the low ground, operating like a friend to Old Man Mountain. It's Rex, Epic Whale, and Arkham trying to take advantage of Quinn's early exit and storming their way back up to the top of the leaderboard. The question is, Clay, can they clutch it out here?
This would be a great opportunity for them to do it. If they're on the low ground, this is where they operate so well. If they're able to get ahead, and they are, a lot of builds remaining here for Rex on the low ground as well, claiming everything. They have the opportunity to take some shields. V3, they got that top 3 placement point. It came through. So much for Arthur. Going to take a lot of damage. Trying to find an angle. He always finds good angles. Clutch angles. Can he do it again? Can he take down a member of a trio to start to put this back in their favor? Running out of time. It is going back towards the northeast to their old builds. They are going to be able to find some loot on the low ground, but is it going to be enough? They do have the advantage as we Zinx going all the way in his own, grabbing something of maybe Max, maybe something, but Rex now on your screen trying to get out. Epic Will going to take down Dex, but he's going to get traded out by Notch. Rex trying to get out through. Arkham going down very low. Rex is in the box, but he doesn't have the damage. His teammates are going down. He's got the HP, but he doesn't have enough of it. He takes down one, but it was not enough. FJ trying to get in the zone. Does he have the heals? Does he have truck lashes, floppers? I don't think he does. He is all the way back. There's still 40 seconds left on that clock. I think he's going to be able to clutch it up. He's not, but symmetrical Zinc and Dog, a 4 elimination victory royale.
We talk about Wolfman Mountain claiming his toll. What we mean there in those moving zones, the change of verticalities when you're low on mats, when there's so many other pre-built mats, high ground is allows you to see Old Man Mountain's way, and instead the zone taking so many of those trios over. But Kelly's prediction, finally rearing their head and picking up a victory royale there.
Nomor 5 ini nih, jawabannya nomor 5.
Our second place team coming into that game ended up getting that third place with a good amount of eliminations. There's definitely going to be some shakeups on the leaderboard. Kelly, Shadow, and Zeke.
Sohe.
Dong, true dong.
True.
Apa nomor 5?
Iya, mabut ya. Atau gue baru buka langsung ketemu jawabannya.
7 apa 7?
Third game.
Bang lag banget ini.
And as they mentioned, but of course, only the standings will tell the full picture.
Emang buku bisa nge-lag dia?
We'll do that.
Bedatil min mandi. Bebe.
Bohong lu turun ke bawah deal ya.
Beda yang mana tuh? Beda-beda kadang-kadang.
Oh, I'm just checking
Bedatil manhi.
making sure my drip looks good for the FNCS finals.
Bedatil manhi.
Iya udah kambing udah.
Yang mana?
Alhamdulillah salahu sirah wahid.
A drip check on the team.
Yang mana?
Okay, let's see if they is good or if they is valid in how they played in game number 1 of both days. And
bes,
teams is Juicy, Quinn, and Dylan.
First and foremost, this team right here, they have that one good-looking outfit, and they wear it to every practice. We saw in game number 1 and day 1, they went down in 6th place with 6 eliminations, fighting on the low ground. And guess what? They did it again in game number 6 place with 6 eliminations. And even more impressive is that it was a duo run both times. Dylan and Juicy pulling their weight for the competition right here, and they did a good job. So I'm going to say drip check.
Buset, masih sejam gila.
3-3 apaan, Bon? True.
Emang Herbes nggak ada obeng.
Yeah, I mean they both wore the same clothes both times. The drip ain't changing and it's looking good. Just don't change it. Keep wearing the same clothes. It's nice. Yeah, 6th place, 6 elims, looking good. That could mean 100% that they have a big ride up all the way in this day as well. Clap back after that last game.
Ada sih sekarang.
Terima kasih.
Ada yang smart gak?
Nggak ada.
Atau saat ID nanti jam 12 dikasih tahu.
Ntar bocor.
Mon, kalau kagak ada kesini Mon, bawa kunci-kunci Mon.
Kan ada ulangan lagi.
Their clothes were shining. They ended 9th place, 4 eliminations. Really popped off in the end. So good. That is what you need to see, a drip upgrade.
Iya, sampai jam 3.
Guys, setengah 2.
Setengah 2 sampai jam 3.
They had 2 victory royales in day number 1. But day number 2, it seems to be a bit of a difference. It's game number 2 right here. Down in 15th place. You can get Kytrex here. This is actually day number 1. They got that victory royale, but here we're now moving to day number 2, going up against Chicken and Ralphnar.
Yeah, over here they kind of fell a little bit on their games.
Kudil nyaut kan langsung gitu kan.
He was ready. He attacked that game, got them big placement, and it's worth it because early in that game.
Kudil belum kuliah udah sombong anjing.
Okay. I'm okay. I'm
focused. Belum kuliah udah sombong, ntar udah punya teman baru, lebih mantap lagi teman-temannya.
Kenalan enggak?
Diam. Enggak off mic. Nah.
Did they overtake them? The answer.
I've been
talking about they have finally found their opportunity. They've strike, attacked. I don't know, but now they lead by 3 points. That moment, see, this is kind of what we talked about Fortnite fam. And these games, they give this way for others to move up the standings. That's what we see out of Arkham Rex and Epic Whale.
The operating word is chomp. They chomp top, but other people were still over. Kelly symmetrical now in 7th place.
Yeah, love to see it. That's how much a victory royale with 4 eliminations. In fact, they only actually have 4 eliminations in that victory royale. But that VR 30 points jumps them up to 136 points total now. But now taking a quick look at our 3rd page there. Kytrex, Alithia, and Frappai, even with that great victory royale that we saw yesterday, starting to drop down even more.
Yeah, I mean, some teams do have to
Bus,
fall down a little bit.
Al-Ikrar dia apaan, Bus? Al-Ikrar.
Up and up in the rankings. Question is,
Ikram
are these
ke-
other teams still looking for
Batasa,
the past here in this page? This might be the final game for them to level up. Caleb,
Makruh.
we also have
Makruh.
Falconer all the way there in
Oh.
20th
Thank you,
place.
thank you.
Possibly this is going to be their last moment to really get into those triple digits and have a chance at that first place prize.
It's rough. I'm wondering if just Dirty Docs isn't working out for Falconer right here, but not
jual masker
Jackson
pinggir jalan.
FAA. We
Jual
just saw
masker.
them.
Galer, asli galer.
Jual masker pinggir jalan.
Second place finish finally. Good to see them up there. Did move down to second though, but it's nice to see them make it up.
Ikut razia bro, ikut razia Satpol PP.
So sad to see Mango's
Mana jadi gua
coming
sekarang?
out first of their heat.
Kena razia.
Nah, razia apa di Satpol PP dia?
This is what happens, right? When you put a bunch of
Nah,
best trios
nah.
in a region, in a lobby, there has to be winners and there has to be. But listen, anything can still happen. We have another 3 games just ahead of us, and anything can happen. Anything will happen, especially in the
Tahun udah tamat su, demi Allah udah tamat.
to a break, but don't get too far.
Iya, chapternya udah
Back
tamat.
the last 3 games.
Yuk,
Attack lift apaan,
yuk,
Dus? Attack
lu
lift.
mending jadi Satpol PP dah yuk.
Trios champion.
Tahu gue endingnya gimana su?
See you guys
Tahu.
in a little bit.
Diapain?
Yuk, yuk.
Apa ya?
Yuk.
Nikah
Agent Jones requesting access to restricted file 8752.
Cuman
This is Agent Jones requesting access to restricted file 8752. Really? No time to stabilize reality, but plenty of time to revoke my credentials. This is Agent Jones requesting access to all materials related to the 7. Oh, great! Okay, if you're not gonna give me what I need.